talk about combustible dust. And you're dealing with combustible dust in two ways. You have a fire hazard. Any wood are able to burn, and therefore, as we'll show in a little while here, that both of these samples I have on my table here are certainly for potential for burning, and a fire could happen. But the other part of it is the explosive dust, which is very fine wood dust, and we will demonstrate to you here what size criteria we're dealing with on that to say what is combustible. On this table here we have two samples here. One is planer shavings, fine planer shavings, and the other we have a mixture of mostly sawdust with a little bit of sanding in it as such. On this side here, the planer shavings, they are too big to cause an explosion, but of course if you put a match to it, you know that it will burn. On the other hand, then you look at this part over here, and actually a lot of this in the sawdust pile may not explode. A lot of it is just so big that it will not explode. On the table here, we have taken the sawdust sample and sifted through a size separating device here. And we have 6 different sizes here. And if we start over on this end here, we can see that we have some fairly good sized parts here. And then we have what we really would consider the coming off, the saw and chips there, as well as next to it. And actually these 3 here, I'll demonstrate to you in a little while, will not actually flame up and explode when we put them in suspension. But if we go to the other side here, where we have finer dust, and actually this dust here is smaller than 0.5 millimeter, and then getting eventually smaller, and the smaller it gets, the bigger flame and causes bigger hazard you will get out of these conditions here. Alright, so now we'll show you how dangerous the wood dust can be in suspension. And here I have actually what I would call the worst part, which is very fine dust. And I take just a spoonful of this and put in this cup here. This material is 0.01 millimeter or smaller in size. And if I take this match here, heat it up, we get a nice flame here, we of course there, and then I will suspend that by blowing some air into this dust pile, and you'll see how it flames up. And I now take a sample of some dust that's a little bit bigger, but as you can see it's still very fine dust. I put in the cup here. We'll take the match and light it up. Again, here you see a tremendous development of the flame here. So as I said earlier, size of particle does matter. Here I have some particles that is from 0.5 millimeter to 1 millimeter. And if we go through the same process here, put igniter in here, and try to blow that up. As you will see, no flame developed out of that because the particles was simply too big to get into a flame up deflagration type situation.